Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Soul Blazer. Today we're going to continue on in the Fire Shrine, I believe it is, and see what we can do to free some more animals in the Greenwood. This area is actually going to be full of a lot of kind of annoying enemies. Those scorpion guys that are crawling around right there, they follow the perimeter of whatever wall they're basically attached to. And they're actually metal, so we can't destroy them yet, which means there's going to be a few monster layers that are connected to them. I could use some health, and thankfully there's a medical herb. Yeah, those big floating skull things, they're not too difficult. They take a few hits, and you'll see later on, some of them are actually just sort of floating out in the room. If you played ActRaiser, if you remember how the monster layers worked in that, where they were out on the overworld and enemies would basically come out and attack the town, the skulls were actually one of those enemies. They were actually red. They weren't ghostly like the ones in this game. And then if you left them for too long, they would touch down on the ground and they would cause an earthquake that would destroy all the houses. Well, all the level 1 and 2 houses. I may have to play that at some point. That was also an Enix game. That wasn't considered the unofficial trilogy like these games are, because this is considered part of an unofficial trilogy, with this game being first, Illusion of Gaia being second, and a game called Terranigma, which was never released in the US, being the third game. But before these games was ActRaiser 1 and 2. And in those games, you actually helped recreate the world also. I like to think that in those games, you created the world. And then at some point, the beginning of this game happened where the king sold all of the living creatures, and then you're now rebuilding that world. If you played ActRaiser, you'll remember that you were the master, which was essentially God. And your miracles and everything and your communication with the people were done through a little angel that would fly around on the screen. In this game, you're supposed to be the master's servant and you're sent down to help restore the world. So I like to think that our character is actually the angel. Now if you saw those enemies there while I was talking, they appear and then they disappear, and they come in and out, and then they can't be damaged when they're invisible. They're kind of a pain because their pattern is essentially random. You know, a lot of the enemies that come out of the monster layers, they have kind of a pattern based on where you're standing. You know, they're programmed to kind of come at you. So if you stand just right, you can guide them and just attack them. Just blindly swing your sword and kill them all. But these invisible guys, they kind of go in their own way, and they get kind of annoying. I prefer, again, just like this, have them all come out in big bulk, and then as they appear, I can kill them in clusters. Yeah, if you see those are the skulls from that monster lair. It should be the one right there at the top. And one more there. Just double checking the area, making sure that everything is done. Again, there's really no point in clearing a few things and then going back and forth. It's just go as far as you can go, clear all the monster layers, and then head back. Now you get these fire guys. Unless I'm hitting it wrong, the fire itself can't be damaged that they shoot out at you, so that actually makes them not very difficult. But when you get into a tight corner, you get into a small walkway or something, and you don't have a lot of room to move, it can be a little tricky. You usually end up it's just easier to take the hit. Now if you see there, those floors damage you. They only damage you when they're at the brightest. So once they start to dim and once they start to come back, you actually have a few extra seconds there, or a few, probably just a second. Later on, you'll get ice armor, I believe it is, that lets you walk over them. So I'm assuming there's more of that stuff later in the game, because depending on how you do this, by the time you get the ice armor, you actually don't encounter any more of those floors. I gotta be honest, when I first started playing this game, there was a lot of repetitiveness. Okay, I want to get off of that floor there. It felt like a lot of repetitiveness, and I wasn't too incredibly excited about it. But as I play through it more, it's still slightly repetitive, but I really do enjoy it. I'm kind of interested to see what the next land is. You know, I after the forest, I'm not really sure what's going to be next. You know, it could be anything, and it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I guess you could say this game really is growing on me. Now I understand the high price tag. I bought this game. I saw Enix. I remember Illusion of Gaia being a decent game, and then I didn't even know that this was part of some sort of weird trilogy-ish scenario. But I liked Illusion of Gaia. I loved ActRaiser. And I remember seeing that this game was from Enix, and when the opportunity came for me to buy it, I was able to get it with the box and the instructions and the inserts, and I don't remember how much I paid for it. I mean, put it this way, I was only paying for games that, unless they were a great deal, I was only paying for games that I really, really enjoyed, and since I had never played this game, that means I didn't pay much for it. You know, and then I was going over my inventory probably a few months ago, and I was just checking out price guides and stuff like that. Nothing, you know, no real reason to, since I'm not going to be selling my collection or anything, but I was just, every once in a while I get curious, and I saw, let's just say, a high price tag for this game. Sometimes just the cart, sometimes with the box and the instructions and everything. And I couldn't believe it. You know, there are a few games that I have. I'm really excited that I've been doing this for so long. Been playing games and trying to collect. And unfortunately, there was a huge time when I wasn't collecting. But when I was, I managed to get a lot of great things. And it's funny because some of these things I remember paying dollars for. You know, I paid $6 for Dracula X for the Super Nintendo. I paid $3 for Robotrek for the Super Nintendo. And nobody liked that game. Nobody even knew what it was about. And apparently that's one of the games that became something that people want. You know, I tell people I've been a classic gamer since classic games were new games, and that's a very fortunate thing, because nowadays some of these games are just way too much money to take a chance on, I should say. Fortunately, we have things like YouTube now where we can see a lot of these games in action. We get a feel for what kind of game it is, whether or not it's something we'd be interested in. You know, and then of course there's things like emulators and stuff, but I won't get into that. But it's nice that we have a resource where we can go and we can take a look at some of this stuff, because, you know, in the old days, you paid $40 and $50 for a game, and you had to do that sight unseen. You had to trust that and hope that that was a good game, and then if it wasn't, hope that wherever you bought it from had a decent return policy. I'm not entirely sure what that one's connected to. I wasn't sure if I'm missing something here. See, that's what I like. Right there. You know, another step and they'd probably be shooting those fireballs at us, and then with all those tight walkways, it'd be kind of difficult to get around. Silver began to hear a small voice. We are rafts made from the branches of trees in Greenwood. If you cannot prove that you are from Greenwood, we will not let you ride. That wood wouldn't let me ride it. Uncool. Now, you see, I opened a pathway down and out of the shrine here, but I'm actually going back. At one point, I unlocked one of those jewels, and those jewels always offer you a teleport back to the town. But a lot of the time, they'll offer you something else, whether she'll give you an item, or she'll restore your health, or give you some experience. Usually, it seems to be experience, but I'd rather take that. Oh, there we go. Light arrow magic. You know, I'd rather take the teleport all the way back to the town and make sure that I get everything. I actually don't think I equipped the magic for a little while. I just magic, again, until it becomes something more impressive, magic is just sort of an afterthought. I'm content to just walk around, and I wish I got, you know, better swords faster. That squirrel's walking with me. It's purely coincidence. I won't use my regular joke about how that squirrel is nuts. I'm pretty sure I talked to him before. This is this dog. I followed him here again because I wasn't really sure. I didn't remember if I talked to him or not. Well, if you watch, I think it was the last part. We know what that is. Well, it's not really that strange if you think about it. How do you forget that that's the bathroom? You jerk. Yeah, he smells some armor. As we unlock the last couple of animals, that will open it up. No, I'm not really surprised. Interesting that it was that tree specifically. It's not surprising when you keep doing it, buddy. You should have that mole checked out. Yeah, I said that. It's funny, I don't think that bird ends up being the thing that's snoring. But he is asleep. So let's touch the bird with the rod. I can't wait to meet this dog. He seems pretty impressive. Oh, ghost dog. Well, that's Turbo himself, isn't it? You released a guard into the woods. You will find what you are looking for. There's a bird, Tiki, that may tell you how to use the raft. You must protect Greenwood now that I'm gone. Yep, that's Turbo, all right. Turbo! I liked his design. You might say I enjoyed his Turbo graphics. Uh-huh. Now that you've all recovered from the laughter, I will continue on. There was another mole. Oh, here we go. I opened that up. Those are Turbo's remains. Now I take those leaves back to the raft, and the raft will let me ride it on to the next shrine. If you remember, I opened up that gateway into the shrine, so that's an easy way back. Kill a few lizards because they startle me. Yeah, I kind of walked right into that scorpion. I wonder how he knew. I don't see any eyes. More mud guys. You see that bee following me? They come out of those big flowers. They kind of look like the Rafflesia from what was the Zombies Ate My Neighbors. I think Rafflesia is right. I'll have to look that up later, but that'll be after this video. Looks like one more monster lair before we head on over to the light shrine. How many is this? Like a clown car for mud monsters. There we go. Oh, and that is the Woodstein Trio, or Woodston Trio. Yeah, just had to be a jerk. That's the shrine, but earlier I saw a gem over there, so I want to go and get that. Give me a little experience points. I could head back, but I'm not going to. Yeah, and next time we'll go into the light shrine and try and free the Wood Guardian, or Guardian of Greenwood.